This episode is sponsored by Where to Shop and Dine. Download the app on Google Play Store or Apple App Store today. Connecting colleges and communities. Hi, you're watching Scene TV, and I'm Maya McNulty, your host, Schenectady Cable Entertainment News and Events. And I'm so delighted today. On our show, we have Nicole Snow. She is the founder of Darn Good Yarn. Welcome, Nicole.
Thank you so much.
Such a pleasure to have you here. I am excited about your story, so please share with everyone.
So I own this really cool yarn company, and I started it out of my house back in 2008, and it has doubled in growth every single year. And I finally... I put my big girl panties on and I moved to Schenectady, and I bought a commercial piece of real estate over in the Stockade, and I moved this yarn company into this great space. So now we have a retail presence there, and we actually do all of our fulfillment for our websites out of there as well.
Good, good. Yeah. So tell me where Darn Good Yarn, the concept, came from.
To be honest with you, Darn Good Yarn was kind of a joke. I had another company before I started Darn Good Yarn, and I was learning to knit, and I found out about the concept of recycled silk yarn. I'm actually wearing something that's made out of my yarn. And recycled silk has been on like the knitting, crafters market for a really long time, but when it was just done like so terribly and the silk stunk, and I saw this and I said, you know, there's an opportunity here. So I work with some co-ops in India and Nepal, and I'm like, let's make this a better product for the Western market. And we just sort of hashed through it a couple of years into it, really made a great supply chain, and it just continues to blossom as a company. You know, we're getting into ready-made items now, because most people who are coming into our shop are like, oh, can we buy this thing that's ready-made? And we're like, oh, not quite yet, but we have knitters in India that we're training to do that. So we're taking this leap now from just being this yarn company to getting into this ready-made outlet.
Yeah, it's really exciting. So tell us a little bit about your yarn and how you're using recycled materials or pieces that were really going to end up in a landfill?
Exactly. So you think about this. You know, you go buy something at Bed Bath & Beyond, and there's sheets. Like, say you have silk sheets. There's always remnants from that manufacturing process that are left over. So what I do is I have women in India that go into these factories, and they collect hundreds of pounds of these remnants, because they just be dumped into, well, they'd be dumped into rivers there. We like to think they're landfills, but that's just, you know, it's a different culture, and that's what happens. So they collect hundreds of pounds of this waste, and then I get a call. It might be like, hey, Nicole, we have 200 kilos of denim. You know, what do you want to do with it? So I see some pictures. Sometimes I get samples, and we turn that into yarn. And like, just to sort of quantify what we're doing, we saved over 25,000 pounds of material waste from heading into landfills last year, and we turned it into yarn for knitters and crocheters. So we're moving a lot of volume, and we're saving a lot of waste from just really polluting the environment. Now, on top of that, we employ mostly women. And the thing that, you know, people have to think about is, especially in India, you're dealing with gender and caste discrimination. And you know, we're really fortunate here in the U.S. We have social services. We have things that kind of protect people. In India, there is none of that. So the women who have been widowed and they have a couple of kids, they really have no way to support themselves just because of the way society is set up there. What this yarn does, they're the ones who are making this yarn. It gives them a place to have a livelihood. So you're dealing with people who we're making less than $2 a day, like the true poor of the globe. And now they're making about $16 a day. They're sending their kids to school. And if they can't make ends meet for, say, a surgery or putting their kids through a certain college, Darn Good Yarn is picking up the bill for them to do that. So it's you know, we run on the triple bottom line framework where we're socially conscious, eco-friendly, and then we're turning a profit as well, because we're not a nonprofit.
Wow, what a great story.
Thank you.
So your big mission, what is your big mission?
Oh, well, I think it's global domination. No, I'm joking. It's really to save waste and to recreate the craft and hobby industry. It seems to be the last frontier. You know, you think about Tom's, the company Tom's. They're taking over the fashion industry and having people rethink about being a conscientious consumer. You've probably heard about being a conscientious capitalist, but people are starting to realize that they have the power to make changes with their credit card or the cash they have in their hand. That hasn't quite reached into the big box stores like Michael's and Joann's, and that's what Darn Good Yarn wants to be. We want to be in that place to to show people that, yes, you can employ people and do good for the environment, and then craft and make beautiful things for people as well, so it has a deeper meaning.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about your background.
Oh, gosh. Well, I'm from New Jersey originally, so I'm finally back with my people, and I say that because in the past 9 years, I've moved about 15 times with my husband and his job. I went to school up at Clarkson University in Potsdam. Go Knights. Yeah. And after that, I went active duty Air Force. I was a contracting officer for a couple of years, and I got out. I started my first business. Well, let me back up. I got out of the Air Force. I went to go work for someone, and I got fired. And then I started my first business, and then that wound up just morphing into what Darn Good Yarn is now.
Great story.
Yeah.
So, to me, you're an inspiration. Somebody that, you know, they went to school, they're out of college, they're having a hard time finding a job, they maybe perhaps lost the job that they thought that was their dream job. What keeps you moving? What's motivating you?
For me now, I realized that I could do a lot of good in this world. I was really fortunate to have like all of my college paid for, and it wasn't like from a place of guilt. I think it was just, I knew I was given a gift, and it would have been wasteful and sort of like, it just would have been a throwaway if I didn't do anything with it to help other people. I just felt like that was my place. And even when I was in the military, before the terrorist attacks and things, we were doing a lot of humanitarian missions, and that's where a lot of my training was around, you know, going to Africa and and helping people. So that's really where my heart's always been. So to continue every single day, I just say, you know, there's other people that are hurting. I am really blessed to live here, live in this great country. You know, we do have free enterprise. I know that I can help people who really do need true help. And that's what we do. And my small little company, like I said, I just moved to Schenectady 4 months ago. Everything was done out of my house, and I think it's an important message for people to realize that we help employ over 300 women between India and Nepal. I have 3 other women that work for me here in the U.S., and that's it. So you can run a really lean business and make a huge impact in your own way. And with something as simple as yarn. I mean, I know you have an app, right? I'm not that smart. I mean, I just sell yarn on the internet. It's just that simple concept, but you can make an impact, and that's really where my heart is, and that's what makes me go on every single day.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great story. So tell me a little bit about serving in our country, becoming a veteran.
So, you know, it's a little bit mixed. I got out of the military because I was depressed, and I'm really open about that now. I thought I was...
Sure.
You know, like people, I think, oh yeah, you have a depressive disorder, and you kind of hide, and you don't want to tell people about it because you're embarrassed.
They almost make you feel clinical, that you really need some professional help, but that's not you.
Yeah, and you know, some people, they go through depression, and like you think about post-traumatic stress, and that's the other side. And to me, I feel like, you know, I went through a really dark time in my life. I got the help I needed, and I'm really open about that because I've helped friends of mine get help as well that really needed it too. So I was in this low point, and I realized on the other side, I have so much awesome stuff to give back to this world. Like, I do have a lot of gifts, and that's, you know, that's just through professional help. I mean, I will not hide anything about that. So while I was in the military, it just, you know, I poured a lot of my heart and soul into it. But, you know, you're in your early 20s. I think, you know, everyone who looks back at their early 20s, you're in this just period of transition, and you're just still growing into yourself. You're still a baby. In a lot of ways. So that's really where I was. And I did contracting when I was in the Air Force. So I did small contracts between small businesses and then the Air Force itself. Like if, you know, lawns needed to be mowed, and we brought an outside contractor, and I was the person coordinating that on base.
What's one of your best memories?
Oh, gosh. You know, when I went through my basic officer training, there was another cadet who was there with me, and he was sort of like shy and maybe like, you know, I'll say like a little bit nerdy. And I kind of like latched onto him. Like, not that he was my project, but I just saw a lot of potential in him. And I had been through a lot of, I've been doing Civil Air Patrol and junior ROTC since 7th grade. So the military has been very much a part of my life. So when I got into training environments, it really like wasn't that hard. I'm like, okay, yeah, I know how to make my bed just right. So I could really help other people who were struggling. And I just like worked with him, and I just like motivated him, and I didn't really realize it at the time. I think I didn't want to see him like flunk out just because he didn't have the self-esteem. So I kind of latched onto him like a little sister. And at the end of it, oh, I still think about it. He wrote me a letter. He said, "Don't open this until you're on the plane because you're going to embarrass me." And I read it, and he said, and in the letter, it was, I looked at you every day, and I saw like, here's this girl, no offense sort of thing, but here's this girl doing all the push-ups with me, and I always looked over to you for my motivation. And I think like, oh my gosh, like that's so, and that was like, it was really like my proudest moment to be able to have that connection with someone in such a strict, stern environment.
Yeah. How do you think that some of that strict, stern environment has helped you to get Darn Good Yarn to where it is today?
I think, you know about the 10,000 hour rule. Like, to be a pro, you have to kind of put 10,000 hours into it. And I really have done almost my 10,000 hours in launching this business. And it's the truth. It's, you work a lot of 100+ hour weeks. And that does come from having that discipline. And I don't know if the military gave that to me or it just got more polished. I've always been kind of a serious kid. I was a lawyer for Halloween. I mean, this is the kind of kid I was. So maybe I was born with it a little bit, but you learn about integrity, you learn about motivating people. And so I did polish up a lot of my leadership skills in the military. And I think that is one of my strengths, that I can run such a lean team, get so much out of them, and they're totally loyal to Darn Good Yarn and to me. And like, I'm leaving for India tomorrow, and I know that like I can leave the business and I'm not going to like worry about the place burning down.
So Darn Good Yarn, let's talk about the process of the recycling. How did this all come about?
So the process of recycling, the concept of the yarn isn't that new. It's not like I had a genius idea. Like I said, I'm not that smart. I just made something better.
But you are.
I had something that was like on the market already, though, and I just made it better. So like I said, there will be big factories, and I'll get a call about them. And if it's not like Bed Bath & Beyond, you'll get high-end sari. Like, you think about these big saris that, Indian women traditionally wear, and people in Southeast Asia. There's always remnants left from the process of those high-end silk carpets. So people go in, collect that, and then it's hand spun. So you get this like frayed material in a lot of cases. And women will bring this back in bulk to their houses, and they'll either hand spin it with what's called a drop spindle, or they'll use, you think about the old-fashioned wheels. They'll use that to create the yarn as well. And then they hand dye it and send it to me.
So Nicole, tell me, what are some of the job prospects that these Indian women in India had before you came along? Sure.
So a lot of times they were working in the fields, but that's a big problem of really poor economies. They work in the fields for 2 months out of the year. Like, if I gave you a paycheck and said, "Here, go use that for the rest of the year, for the rest of 10 months," like, no one can do that. No, you can't. So what we've done is come in there and create an economy where there was none. And that's that really beautiful idea of conscientious capitalism. Not that I'm downplaying the power of what nonprofits can do and charities, but we've been there now since 2008, where charities have come and gone. So we're creating, and I realize the power of Darn Good Yarn, and that you talked about my motivation before. My goal with these women is to make sure they have year-round employment where they didn't have that, and what that leads to is like their kids don't follow in their footsteps, and that's exactly what you want. Like, I know I've done my job right when I can't find women anymore to spin my yarn, because that means everyone has moved up to that next level. When I see my spinners sending their kids off to become nurses, I'm doing my job right. And it makes, it's emotional.
Sure.
You are lifting families out of poverty, and it might not be the mother in this case, but it's the women of society that are the ones that are taking care of the community. And it's not, I'm not being sexist or chauvinist either way, one way or another. It's been proven. And they spend their money on their children's education, on their children's food, and they put themselves second. So we're building communities where there wasn't money to do that before. And as a company, what I'm really proud of, like, there were floods last year in one of the main areas I get my yarn from. As a company, we paid for land bridges to be rebuilt. We paid for, one of our spinners' houses to be rebuilt. that's powerful, and it's all through that simple concept of yarn, people wanting to knit and make something beautiful.
Yeah, that's great. So your big picture here is not only about helping the families to eat, but you're providing medical care, you're providing money for schooling, you're lifting them up. That's really empowering. Great story.
Thank you.
Yeah. So what else do you have to share about Dart and Good Yarn? And are you going to move out of India and go someplace else and expand? Do you have plans to expand out of Schenectady?
I don't know. You know, I like to do things really well before moving on to the next thing. And India has a lot of, I like to call them areas of concern. There's a lot of women that need help there. And there's a lot of really powerful organizations. Like people say, like, oh, you can get these beads in Africa. There's already amazing organizations there doing their thing. And you know, like any small business owner will tell you, you can't over diversify because balls do start to drop. So we're probably going to stay in India. I have my building here, which is amazing, and we're starting to really play a lot with Amazon fulfillment for another channel that we have to sell the yarn through. So this Schenectady location is starting to act as a pinpoint to send out to larger fulfillment. So I don't intend on moving. I live 1.5 miles from my building. I can ride my bike to work in the summer. I'm so happy with my choice to move to Schenectady.
Yeah, that's great, and we're excited that you're here too. So we're really excited, and welcome to Schenectady. It's awesome here. So I'm really happy as well. My business has grown from nothing, a little seed to a really exciting point. Yeah. So I'm really excited. So, what else would you like to add about your experience?
Just in general. So I think that when people walk into my store. It is really important. I talked about the triple bottom line idea, and it's not just regular yarn, and it's so much more than yarn. And I just think that people have, every time they go to the store, like if they go to the grocery store or they come into my yarn shop, that they're voting essentially with their pocketbooks. And you have to take care of the supply chain, and it's always so sad when you hear on the news that people die at work, people die in factory fires, and for what? Like for your $5 T-shirt. And I think as consumers, we do have the responsibility to become a lot more educated, and that's what I'm trying to do. But that's something I wish people would know more about my company. I'm sure, it goes back to branding, and I have to do a better job with that, but you can always perfect things. Yeah. But I think that that's such a big part of our story, and in trying to, really shock an industry that's so old, like the craft and hobby industry. We're sort of like the eclectic loud people on the outskirts. We just went to a trade show in Hartford, Connecticut. You walk by our booth and we're hooting and hollering. And I mean, this is the kind of company we are. And I'm totally proud of that. So when you come down to the shop is over in the Stockade. It's at 22 North College. It's this long blue building. Yes, we have prayer flags outside, but we have a nice big parking lot. It's just a fun environment, and I want to bring it back to the community. It's one of the things that I want to do for 2015 is have a lot of fiber art classes. In the past week and a half, because we had our ribbon cutting on Thursday that you were at, I've had people coming off the street say, "Do you need a knitting teacher?" I'm like, "Yeah, I actually do." And I get this email of all of the patterns that they've done. I'm like, "Oh my God, you live right around the corner. I love Schenectady so much." So this is something that you're going to come in 2015, and we're going to have all these great classes. So if you ever want to learn how to knit, ever want to learn how to crochet, we're your girls. We're going to teach you, and we're going to not make it scary. And, because I think knitting and crochet has a little bit of, when you first start to get into wine maybe, and there's sort of facade about it, and you don't quite know. No, we break that all down. It's like, it's really not that hard. If I can do it, you can do it. And have a little wine along the way, you'll be fine. All
right, I do want to learn to knit, so I'm going to sign up for that class. Yeah, I'm going to take you up on it. Volunteers, do you work with any volunteers to help you in the store?
Right now, I don't have any volunteers, but that can change. I'm always open. One of the things when I moved from Maine, I worked with Governor LePage and really helping to bolster micro enterprises within the state there. That's something I want. I got a lot of experience from that. I want to bring that to Schenectady. So if I can work with a local college, if there's someone who, in high school or college, who is looking to start their own business and they want to just fly, sit by me and see what it's really like.
Shadow.
I'm all about it. And I think that's important. I had a girl who worked for me. She started when she was 16. Now she's in college. And she thought she wanted to run a business. And there's power to it. She's like, okay, I kind of see what's going on here. And this is what I need to study in school now. So there is such a powerful connection with the shadowing. And then having that marry up with a formal education. So.
Yeah, I think you're very creative. It's impressive. You're really entrepreneurial. Let me ask you, how do we get in touch with you?
Oh, through my great website. So my website is darngoodyarn.com. And the name itself was a joke. Like I said, I didn't take myself that seriously when I first started the business.
In 2008, yeah.
I know. The name Darn Good Yarn, I was on, this is how long ago it was, I was on AOL's Instant Messenger with a friend. I'm like, what should I call? Like, I have this great yarn. What are we going to call? And we're coming up with these stupid names. And she said, Darn Good Yarn. I'm like, that's the one. Hope you don't mind, I'm going to trademark it. So yeah, it's darngoodyarn.com. It's a fully functional website. We do wholesale as well, so if people have shops and they want to carry some of our items, we have a full program set up for that as well. Yeah, or you just stop by the shop.
Yeah, tell us about your hours, because I think they're a little different.
Yeah, they are. Right now it's Monday through Friday, and we're open noon to 5. But really, if you just give us a call beforehand, like, we're there all the time. If you have to come in on the weekend, just, again, we're right around the corner, so we can come open up for you.
Yeah, I love this feel-good story. Your company's green as well, right?
It is.
So it's 100% green because it's all recyclable material that's not going into the landfill. I love your big mission.
Thank you.
So I'm really excited about your story. You got anything else to share?
Oh, gosh, I think just keep following along. Social media for us is a big part of where we connect with our customers. And once people sort of get the little taste of Darn Good Yarn, they kind of get addicted. Like, we're a little bit of a cult classic in the yarn world. So come join us on social media. Like, just look up Darn Good Yarn. We have over 70,000 likes on Facebook alone. We interact with everyone on there. Put pictures up of stuff you've made with our yarn. And we have a lot of really fun giveaways actually coming up for 2015 in celebration of us going to Stitches West, which is out in California. It's the first year we're doing a really large show. So people who are in the knitting, who knit for kind of fun, but sort of as an addictive thing, they know exactly what Stitches West is. So follow us. We're going to have a lot of great giveaways that are happening.
Great.
Yeah.
So you have 70,000 likes on Facebook?
Yeah.
How did you... Tell us.
It's a lot of work, and it's taken a lot of years. But it goes back to this. I do a little bit of consulting on the side myself, and I think small businesses get hung up on what a brand is. And for me, it's about your story. And I play that story, and it's not a manipulative way. Like, our story, we're really genuine people. If you watch my live, I have a live show that I do on Google. There's a lot of cursing and wine drinking. Like, that's just who we are. But I think as a small business owner, we live our brand, and I think people just see that authenticity and they connect with it. And people are more likely to tell their friends about a friend that they've met in the yarn industry. That's really how we've grown. And I tell people that if you're thinking about starting a business, it isn't just, yes, the logo and all of that is part of it, but that's just that much of it. It really is, who are you? What are you bringing to the table? It totally is. And I see so many business owners just get stuck on that. They want it to be really refined. And, for me, at least in my industry, that's not the way to reach people.
Yeah. Yours is really heart-centered. People really, your big mission and what people feel and get, even the fabrics, it's a feel-good business. It
is, but I think everyone's business has the opportunity to be a feel-good business. It's a matter of just changing your mindset a little bit. One of my best friends, he made a water bottle, and it's patented, and part of his profit goes back to making wells in Sierra Leone. So, it's not really a sexy product, but he wants to make it part of that feel good. And I really encourage small business owners to think about that triple bottom line concept. And you'd be surprised at how much that will play into what your brand is.
Sure.
And that's where the 70,000 likes come from. It's because people do want to make a difference. And there is that change. And it would be foolish to overlook that, to just say, this is my product or this is my service. And here I am world. It's not about that. We try to be really customer centric and say, okay, what do people want and how can we deliver it from a place from the heart? And that's important. I go to bed, sleeping okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's great. I found that when people, if you're giving more than you're willing to get, that's where I think that's what you're probably trying to say as well, to be more of a giver than saying what's in it for me.
I think so. For me, I was really lucky. My husband has a great job, and I talk about not really having a gun behind my head when I first started my business. But I think it goes to bootstrapping and really having respect for one's dollar. I didn't go and cash out a 401k or something to start my business. I started with $2,000. And it's blossomed. So I guess, in not expecting to get a ton back, maybe that is part of what we are, but, it's having respect for the whole supply chain along the way. And that is self-serving a little bit. If I'm taking care of a woman who needs surgery, for example, she's going to create a better quality product. It's not through manipulation. That's capitalism at its finest, in my opinion. So again, it goes back to that branding, though, because you have to tell your customers about it, because that is what differentiates you from the big boxes of the world.
So, Nicole, you were recently awarded a few different awards from FedEx. Yeah. That's amazing. Tell us a little bit about that.
Thank you. So the first year, it was 2 years ago, FedEx started the Small Business Grant Contest. And my account rep, because, I'm sure you can imagine, I know it's hard to believe, but we do a lot of shipping at my business since we were online first. But my account rep at FedEx said, we're starting this small business grant contest. The grand prize is $25,000, and there's a couple of runners-up positions for $5,000. So I'm like, I'm not going to do that. He said, no, really, it's an easy essay. Just go into it. I know you can. I know you're going to kick butt. So then I looked at the questions, and I'm like, oh, wait, I actually think I can win this. This is me. I'm such a typical Gen Yer. Everything's about me, and I'm a winner. So I did it, and I used my social media network, which is so important. That's why you really need to build that connection with your customers. And it was a voting process, and then you had to get all these votes, and then you went in front of a FedEx panel, essentially. So there was 2 components to it. I wound up winning the whole thing. It was a $25,000 grant. But I would tell you that, if there's a business owner out there that's thinking about doing one of these contests, even if you don't win, it is such a way to get people to rally behind your brand. And I've given that advice a lot of times because, I think you want your customers to be part of the fabric of your company, because that's what they are. You're there to serve your customers. Yes. So these competitions are a really great opportunity, again, even if you don't win. But it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad to win the $25,000. And they flew me down to Memphis, and I got to fly one of their simulators, the big FedEx planes that you see down at Albany Airport. Got to fly one of them, and oh my gosh, I had some good landings, because I flew a little bit when I was in high school, and the instructor was like, you flew a little bit before. I'm like, just a little, because the boys who I was with, I call them boys, they were men, they were landing the plane, and it was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. We were all bouncing out of our seats, and I had picture perfect landings. So that was a ton of fun. And then the other award I just won that, if there are any inventors out there, I really suggest looking into the contest. It's called Dream Big America, and it's sponsored by Sprint, and we just won that for this last month in October.
Yeah, congratulations. That's amazing. And what does that mean?
So we got a prize package of consulting, some SEO work. There's also a component of getting some public relations, some press out. So there's a whole prize package versus just a big lump sum check sent to you.
Oh, that's great.
A little bit of street cred,
So you have an exciting trip coming up to India. So tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so tomorrow, this is why you might see the bags under my eyes a little bit. I have a lot of planning to do still. I'm leaving for India. I'm flying into Delhi, and then I'm going to the state of Bihar. I'm going to a town called Bhagalpur. And they call them towns there. There's over a couple 100,000 people there. I love India so much for that reason. So we're going to go there for a couple of days. And then I'm taking an overnight train to Calcutta. And then from Calcutta, I'm flying all the way down to Bangalore. And I'm staying there for a couple of days. in these what I call glamping tents. it's going to be awesome. What I've heard so far from the hotel that we're staying at down there, they said there's going to be like a couple of really big parties right outside your tent. I hope you don't mind. I'm like, I'm going to crash an Indian party. Like, this is going to be awesome. But really the intent of this trip is I'm going to meet a lot of the women that make the yarns, and I'm bringing a professional videographer with me. So we're going to get beautiful creative assets captured, and we're going to have them up on the site, which I told you was darngoodyarn.com. And oh, I'm so excited.
And how long are you going for?
Just a couple of weeks. I'm coming back Christmas Eve day into Albany, and then I have to go back. I have to go north to see my family up in Maine.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
So, wow, I love your story. So impressive. You're such an inspiration. Thank you so much. Nicole, thank you so much for being on Scene TV. It was really great to learn about Darn Good Yarn.